Well, the problem is it's gone tribal, right? And when you have an us versus them thing going on, which is what we do here in this country, like I keep seeing like people online saying in these dark times, like,
Yes.
Are these times so dark? Like, what is happening? That, it's dark. Yeah, if you're living in Gaza, it's pretty fucking dark. If you're living in Ukraine, pretty dark. But like here, have things gone dark? Like they're
Everything
calling
is
this
spun now.
totalitarian
I know.
regime. Like,
Right.
okay, what's totalitarian? That they're cutting fraud and waste? Like, have you paid attention to the fraud and waste? Have you paid attention to the fact they spent $250 million on transgender animal studies? Like,
Right.
where's your fucking money going? You're not concerned with this unchecked spending that this government has been able to do for decade upon decade and these millions of NGOs. Do you know there's an NGO in India for every 600 people?
I did not know. I have heard it's a CIA / I've watched that episode
There's
with Mike Benz, at least 10 of them.
3.3 million NGOs in India. There's an NGO in India for every 600 people. And this is why we're $36 trillion in debt.
Let me play
those numbers are nuts.
Can I be the opposition on this?
Sure, please do.
Okay. There's children that are starving, Joe. You've taken their food away.
Well, we definitely shouldn't do that.
You know what?
If you can prove that this
Right.
This is also the problem with charities. This is the dark truth of charities, is that most charities, the money goes to bureaucracy. A huge percentage of it goes to overhead. And in fact, most charities, the vast majority of the money never gets to the charity.
Homelessness in California.
Yeah.
24 billion gone. Where is it?
It was
Where's the money?
spent
and the
on
problem's worse.
free needles or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was spent on.
It wasn't even. It's probably fraud and waste.
It's both.
And there's
It's
also
both.
my friend Colion Noir, he brought this up, and I was never aware of it until he said it. He went to San Francisco and he saw the rampant, and he's a lawyer, so he went to San Francisco and he saw all this homelessness, and he's like, "What is the problem? There's not enough funding." And a guy over there going, no, you don't understand. It's the opposite. There's a business now.
Yeah.
So these people that are working in the homeless, whatever the organization, they're making $250,000 a year.
$500,000 in some
Yeah.
cases. I don't know if you've seen Anna Kasparian talk about this, but she can elaborate on this subject matter to the point that you literally want to forcibly remove Gavin Newsom from office. It is staggering, and some of them $500,000
Yeah.
and nothing.
They're doing a great job.
Problems
Just
gotten
imagine if they
worse.
weren't there, how much homeless we'd have.
I
We'd all be
can't-
homeless.
I know. You've seen him talk
Everyone
about.
would be homeless, so just relax.
Well, it's. I just had this conversation actually. I was talking to Carolla, and he was telling me that Gavin Newsom had told him back in the day that the face of homelessness was not addiction and mental illness. It was women and children. And there's a loophole. A friend of mine who's a reporter with the New York Times looked into it because she's like, why didn't you push back on that? I'm like, because he's right. She goes, no. I looked into it and it's women and children. And then she ended up getting to the bottom of the loophole. And the way that he was able to put forward that narrative is that homeless is a person without a stable address. And that's predominantly women and children. But unsheltered is what we consider homeless, the people in the streets and the tent camps. And arguably that is largely.
So I don't understand. What's the definition?
Okay, so Newsom was saying to Carolla, like, you're so insensitive, and the face of homeless.
Children don't own homes?
He was saying that women, like the mom that owns 2 jobs, that's who I'm trying to save. Like, we don't need to tackle addiction and we don't need to tackle mental illness because this is about the underprivileged individual, the female, single mom with 2 kids who, this is the face of homelessness. And Carolla was like, you're a sociopath. It's addicts and people with mental illness. And I ended up then in a debate with this journalist who's lovely, named Molly. And she's like, well, the statistics say that homelessness is in fact women and children. But when I challenged her and sent her to San Francisco, whatever, we go back and forth. And she ended up coming back to me after doing the homework, and there is a distinction between homeless and unsheltered. So homeless are people with unstable addresses. and that is women and children. So I'm like,
why?
in a temporary, I couldn't quite extrapolate what.
So is it like divorce?
I guess it's like in temporary housing or, in an apartment somewhere, but unsheltered, the people on the street that you and I would go homeless.
Okay.
In the tent camp outside on the sidewalk.
So they're playing semantics.
That's what he's doing.
Oh, God.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Gross.
Yes. I'm sorry. Cannot stand the guy.
Well, if you see these
I can't stand him.
communities, you see clearly that you're dealing with drug addiction and mental illness.
But don't believe what you see with your own eyes.
Right.
That's the game across the board.
Right.
Don't believe your common sense. Common sense would dictate all the things we talked about. Autism is increasing. We shouldn't give sex change. We shouldn't sterilize 12-year-olds. But don't believe any of that. Don't believe that people who are homeless need help psychologically. You need some way to treat the addiction. Obviously, there are more intelligent people like Schellenberger that have a plan for this, despite the fact that he didn't get into the governor's office, which is a shame because he would have done far better than what California is dealing with now. But it's this constant game and a manipulation of the facts all the time. And this is where, if I could do one thing in my job, like it's teaching people how to defer back to their common sense. It's crazy.
Yeah. Common sense is not that common, right?
No.